So that's it after 20 years. So long, good luck.
I don't recall saying good luck.
Good evening and welcome to the Joust. Good. I always start good. Always a high.
Yeah, that was very abrupt. Good evening.
I could start quite like good evening and welcome to the Joust. Like
Righto, Kamal.
Kamal or independent mobility and rehab.
Broad Meadow.
131 Broad Meadow Road. Yeah,
How would you describe Kamal to the younger listeners?
Well, I never knew what he did, like because he was a song and dance.
He was a crooner. He was definitely a crooner with the kind of the Barry White from the subcontinent, I suppose you'd say.
He was on the Current Affair recently because he was accused of stalking a woman.
Oh Jesus!
So and then he said because she was like, oh, he gave me money to start a business, and I thought
the audacity of that man.
Well, and then
terrible.
And then
it's the worst thing you could do to a person.
Wouldn't leave her alone. We're gonna have Kamal's lawyers straight on the phone here, but it's and then I'll pick up the phone and say hello, and they'll say good evening. This is Kamal's lawyer, and I'll say, is that you, Kamal? Come out. But then I thought this amount of money must have been $20,000. It was like $250. It was a very low amount of money to end up stalking a woman over.
So what you were saying is like it was the public access TV version of Dragon's Den.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. he was the only man in the
I
chair.
will give you $250 for 30% of your company
and stalking privileges. And then he sang, but it's he busted it straight into song. No, we hope Kamal.
That's for the oldies amongst the Joust crew.
Yeah. Says, hey. And speaking of hey, who's back? Caitlin Ponga. What a surprise it was this week.
I know, don't we have red faces?
From the show.
Yeah, the show that famously racially vilified Kamal.
Oh,
Full circle.
Full circle.
Yeah, we've come back there.
I was surprised to see Caitlin on the team list because
now we were promised round 20, weren't we? Was this AOB kind of trying to not get our hopes up and then surprise?
Well, he said he was questioned in the presser after the Eels game, and they said, when is he due back? We can see he's running at training. The spies on the hill there with the binoculars.
Yeah.
And he said, oh, no, I'm not giving any sort of return date. But apparently the return date was about 5 days later.
What an intriguing set of circumstances. And Naggy, I don't know about you, but I think that this, and this might be controversial, is a good thing. We finally found Liz Frank.
Yeah.
We finally found Elizabeth Frank.
Yeah.
We locked her up and we said, no more out of you, Elizabeth.
Yep.
We've done it. We found you.
Leave the feet alone.
Yeah, don't touch his feet.
Years ago, everyone either did an ACL or maybe a pec tear. And
if you go back a decade, there's like 3 injuries in rugby league.
Yeah.
That's it. And then all of a sudden you've got the Liz Frank. Remember there was the syndesmosis craze?
Yeah.
You don't hear about that anymore, do you?
Elizabeth.
Nah.
It's all Elizabeth
It's all
now.
big pharma trying to just flog more drugs off.
The lowest groin is
lowest-
Elizabeth Frank, and it's very, very. Apparently, it's always devastating. They always say, "Oh, he's got a Liz Frank injury. He's going to be out for 14 weeks."
Yeah.
But Caitlin's made it back in 8 weeks, 7 games.
I don't know.
8
I have no
games.
concept of time. It's just a flat circle.
It was also rumoured or predicted, I think you could say, that after, when Caitlin was injured, like, well, Knights aren't playing very well. They might not win a game. Because remember, Caitlin was at the top of the table.
I believe we predicted to be to win the wooden spoon once he got injured.
Now, I believe, if my maths is correct, rarely is, that we played 8 games in his absence, and we've won 5 of them.
That's a handsome result.
Without our best player.
Yeah.
It's incredible that he's come back
Or
so
have we
early.
been without our best player, given the emergence of David Armstrong, the emergence of Fletcher Sharp,
Yes.
Bradman Beast becoming all of a sudden the best rugby league player in the world. Are we in fact missing our best player? No.
Not possibly.
Some would
We've got
say.
actually footage there live from the team list at the Wickham Park Hotel when it was announced that Caitlin Ponga will be making his return. That's right, 26,000 people always there at the Wickham Park Hotel. It was wonderful. They actually had a Brazilian day.
A Brazilian day. Yeah,
Recently,
they did. I saw that. That looked fantastic.
Huge. There was people dancing. It was-
Churrasco.
Yeah.
All of the great things in life.
I'm sure there were some people doing jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Like, that's all I know about
They had
Brazil.
a waxing booth.
Yeah. That was the 3 things.
I got myself done. It was great.
But it looked like an amazing
Like a
vibe out
tortoise's
there.
shell down there.
firm. It was,
and retracting inside me when I feel threatened.
it was an interesting. It was a great time there at the Wickham Park Hotel for the Brazilian Day. It was a great time also there for Origin Night. We'll be diving.
Well, it's always a great time there every time we go.
I think potentially every time that you go to the Wickham Park Hotel, you have a great time with good people, great friends.
Yeah, we did absolutely
right in the heart of Newcastle. You can't beat it. But if we move forward, team, the time is I think 4 minutes to midnight. Liam on Kent o'clock.
Kent o'clock. We're on Kent Watch again, ladies and gentlemen. Now. Should we do the news song or just go straight into it?
Welcome to the news. Yeah.
Now, I know they say that it's not gentlemanly, it's not polite to laugh at the misfortune of others.
Schadenfreude.
But I think in this case we can safely say, ha ha.
Well, he has made a career out of
being a dickhead.
Well, when other people have terrible things that happen to them, he calls for them to be sacked. Now he has been sacked.
Yeah,
it's
the very same thing that he accuses others of being done for.
Yeah. Drunken incidents lead to sacking when he used to be the one saying you should be sacked.
And then, of course, I don't know if we mentioned this on the news when it came out. He was claiming mental health issues when he, of course, would say to the players, "That's dumb. Don't say that."
That's it. You'd say that's an excuse. We actually have footage here of Paul Kent being thrown. A lot of people think he ended up on the tree, but he actually ended up much further down in the cellar,
root system.
Well, the cellar of personal demons, where you can see him there.
Where he belongs.
Where he's there down there with these apparent mental health problems that he has had now since he's been fired.
This is a new thing to him. Mental health problems all of a sudden to Paul Kent are a real thing.
I suppose the only irony of Paul Kent, suffering this is there isn't Paul Kent talking about how he's made a terrible decision and he should, feel very sorry for himself.
See, that's on us to do. That's our job here in the NRL media. We're the alternative NRL media. We're not the shills.
No.
We're not the Murdoch shills. We're not the we're not getting Packer money.
No,
we're the independent media that are keeping this game alive
underground
by pointing out the hypocrisy of the actual shills.
Yes, yeah. Didn't they end up, getting what the comeuppance, as they say.
Their uppance has come.
Their uppance has arrived.
Finally, about time.
We never quite finished talking about the changes to the NRL rules, Liam. We've seen in the last few years that they've really got their fingers and toes in all the pies of the rules, and they keep making adjustments in the pie, mixing it around,
which is not ideal for a pie.
No, you want
sometimes it comes up trumps.
The pie's pretty mixed anyway. But we had the 6 again, and they fiddled with the dropout rule. Of course, it's no longer a penalty, even though that decided the grand final last year. And they said, "Oh, well,
did it?"
Well, there was.
I think Penrith were going to win that regardless.
That was pretty close, but they got the 2 points. They ended up winning anyway. So it was they keep tinkering there, and Bennett has said on one of the rules he wants to be tinkered.
Wayne Bennett, of course, for those listening at home.
De-tinkering of the sin binning rule. It was like a de-tinkering, and he wants to bring it back to it's only professional fouls. He says it's too much of it, and it's inconsistent, and he wants to only bring it back for foul play.
Yeah.
Holding
professional fouls. Yeah,
fouls,
you hold down after the tackle on a try-scoring occurrence, that kind of thing. And then, of course, he wants to change the send-off rule where you are sent off, you must stay out of the game for the full game, but you can bring on another player after 10 minutes. Now, that raises all kinds of other questions like, Wayne, now you're tinkering with the rules. He wants to stop the tinkering by tinkering. Which is very confusing. And something, now we were discussing this, and I'd like Joust to get a bit ethereal with you for a second. We've never really discussed in the wider public the kind of the literal interpretation of the sin bin.
Yes.
Because we all just think, sin bin, it's you go off the field for 10 minutes and then you come back. But when you look at it in a literal sense, you are being accused of carrying out an immoral act, a sin, and being put in a trash receptacle, which is a bin.
A bin.
So you're doing something that society deems as wrong, and you're just getting chucked in, in the wheelie bin.
Well, of course, maybe potentially to make the shame of the sin bin better, because they just disappear to the sheds. And
there's not enough shame.
Well, do you think maybe there should be a wheelie bin on the sideline, and then they have to hop in and then close the lid?
There's already a bin there. The bin's there. They already have the infrastructure for this.
They're ready there.
Yeah.
There's
If
lots
you're not, call our friend Oscar. He's the manager of the Tip. He brought us a bin.
Oscar Gallagher's got bins coming out his ears. But every household's got a bin. I'm sure the NRL, every stadium can wheel a bin out, and then the person has to hop in, and they have to run to it because that's when the clock starts. And then they shut the lid, and then they don't know what's happening in the game.
They're allowed to peek out. They get 2 peeks.
They get
10
2
minutes.
peeks.
They get to peek out 2 times.
Yeah. Then they peek out too much, and then someone slams the lid down and says, "No more peeks for you. You can't see anymore. You're in the bin." And then they have to emerge out. They say go, and then they have to quickly get out of the bin. I'm not sure if you've ever hopped out of a wheelie bin. Tricky. It's not very well balanced, and then they have to get out of their own must. You can't be assisted out, and then they have to get. And that's when they're allowed back on the field. I think that would add a whole other element to the game.
Yeah.
And then there's a ladder in the middle, and it's a money wrestle, and then they have to climb the ladder.
See, the eggheads running the NRL,
Yeah.
they changed the rules without consulting us. Wouldn't the game be much more fun if we were consulted on it? Instead,
I
they
think
listen
so.
to Bennett. They listen to his acolytes, Trent Robinson, backing his calls for that. Ricky Stewart
Abdo,
doing the same thing he
yeah.
does every single week, bitching about the referees. And apparently, it's news again every goddamn week. Ricky complains about the refs, and it's front page news.
Yeah.
It's like the sun's going to rise in the morning. It's going to go down at night. Ricky Stewart's going to be a little bitch about the referee.
Considering he was, especially after the Raiders game, where he just said they're just guessing.
Well, to be fair, I do kind of agree with him on that. But it comes back, I think, not to the individual skills, talents, and integrity of the referees, but it comes back to said tinkering with Peter V'landys and Andrew Abdo, the foreigner, just consistently tinkering with the rules,
yes.
and it's completely taken the confidence away from the referees themselves. And
Well,
so they don't know what the rules are at any given time.
Every week they got to double check.
Which is ludicrous. And then you've got Annesley coming on, and he's actively gaslighting the rugby league population.
Oh, he said the rules are what they are.
They are what they are.
Today they are.
Yeah.
Who knows what they'll be tomorrow?
And next week he'll come out and say the rules were what they were. Now they are what they are. But they were what they were, but now they aren't, but they are.
Yeah. Oh, I've gone cross-eyed. Yeah.
My word. Disgusting. Disgusting. The state of refereeing, which we always make fun of, but usually because it's bad refereeing.
Bad refereeing.
At the moment, I think it's bad refereeing due to not inefficiency, but dickheads running the game.
I think so too.
And
Speaking
we've
about
more to say that in Origin.
well, the same dickheads, Liam, also want to expand the competition to 20 teams. This feels a little pre-Super League when there was just too many.
Well,
And
remember
had
when
to
they
cut
came
them-
back from Super League 1998 and it was 20 teams, and
20
it was
teams.
a debacle.
It was too many teams.
You've got 20 teams. You've got the talent pool for maybe 14 or 15. So you've got teams just making up the numbers. Your Adelaide Rams, your South Queensland Crushers. No one remembers them for their wonderful on-field performance. Your Gold Coast Seagulls, etc.
It's failures.
Yeah,
Western Reds.
Well, actually, I think the Reds were relatively successful in their time.
I think so. I think they were actually getting good crowds over there, but they just had to consolidate.
Yeah.
Now, Perth seems to be the new site for the team. They're talking about the Bears. Now, Liam, Bears is a team very close to your heart. You have a Bears jacket over your knees like an old woman at the cinema.
Sitting like an old lady at the cinema with my jacket on. There, me, of course, with my best friend Jason Taylor.
You both look so happy there.
I've never seen him smile until he saw me across the room at the North Sydney Bolo, and he strode across confidently. He said, "Hello, Liam."
And he said, wrapped his arm around. He said, "Who's got a camera?"
Yeah.
And he said, snap us one. Snap us one. He said,
That was a wonderful day at the footy there. But the Bears obviously have been, incredibly desperate, I think it's safe to say, over the last few years, to the point where they were like, expansion, Boston? Yep, we'll go for that.
Boy, anyone
and
you
then
want,
next thing you know, they're losing 92-0 to the Brooklyn Kings last week. But they've kind of latched on to every single expansion effort that's been put up over the last, 2 decade and a half?
decades,
and it looks like they're finally going to get it in the Western Bears.
Would you be happy if they don't go back to North Sydney? Is that sort of feels like that's like because they got a well-established thing? We went there. It was like there was thousands of people.
Great day.
They had their own beers. There was a mascot. It felt like a real thing. But if they go to Perth, it's sort of like all that hard work that went through North Sydney. They're just like, see ya.
Well, it's just another Sydney team. There's too many of them already.
Do you reckon maybe the Perth Bears should play a few games at North Sydney?
Well, I think that'd be the idea, or the ideal result for the Bears power brokers, led of course by Greg Florimo, the greatest man of all time. I think their idea is to have it based in Perth with maybe 1, 2, maybe 3 heritage games at North Sydney Oval.
Yeah, okay.
Or as it may be.
Yes.
But then of course you had the late bid from the Newtown Jets. Now
course.
John Singleton, famed media shill, king of the shills. I think he's the top shill.
12 wives.
12, several. He's got an entire harem of wives. Yes. Proposed the Newtown Jets. And then as soon as he disagreed with one talking point, he said, "No,
We're out.
Jets are out. See you later."
Imagine having that power.
Yeah.
That power.
But-
We're out of here.
But I think the Jets have really built themselves up into the best version of themselves as a reserve grade suburban Sydney team, and they get fantastic crowds. They have wonderful events. I think that's Newtown's niche, and again, that's just another Sydney team relocating. So,
I've got friends over there in Papua New Guinea, and I know there's a lot of them. And they're only country where the rugby league is their national sport. The 7 million people over there in Papua New Guinea.
But has the quietening on the Papua New Guinea front mean that Anthony Albanese has given up on trying to wrestle soft power in the region away from China?
I think
has
so.
Has he conceded Papua New Guinea to the CCP?
I believe so. I think that is exactly what's happened.
Xi Jinping currently learning about rugby league and how wonderful it is.
We're having the Beijing Tigers coming in soon, and they'll be the brand new team. But it does, it's going to be interesting. I think it's the Papua New Guinea have a Queensland Cup side, if I'm not.
They do.
So I think once that needs to, I think, get a little bit more track under the wheels.
And the interesting thing about that is people say there's such a huge talent pool. There'll be Papua New Guinean players in the NRL every year. They will be from all over the place. Now, the Papua New Guinea Hunters have been in the Queensland Cup for many, many years. They won it once. They've produced one NRL player, Justin Olam. And he actually had some interesting things to say, Justin Olam. Now, he said they're not ready for an NRL side because they haven't got the grassroots infrastructure to build up to an NRL side. That's why the Hunters haven't produced an enormous quantity of NRL players.
Yeah, they have so much, like over there, they don't even have the grassroots of infrastructure. They only have grassroots over there. That's all they've got. barely a building to be seen.
Yeah. So I think the PNG bid was always kind of bound to fail, but 20 teams is a big expansion. Obviously, you're going to have Perth. Then do you bring in the second what's that across the ditch? Second New Zealand team, perhaps.
Do
you bring in, a New Caledonia team?
Of course, because they're politically stable at the moment as well. Famously,
could bring in a team from Bali, the Kuta Cutters. There's plenty of drunk bogans over there. You'd fill a 20,000 seat stadium every week.
Christmas Island, possibly.
Now, we can't talk Christmas without discussing that that beautiful Christmas traditional meal of butter chicken.
Of course,
a good honest buttered chicken. Sitting there next to the turkey, next to the the potato bake,
all the accoutrements.
Yeah, they got the Brussels sprouts that only one member of the family eats. It's the only time you see them all year.
You have to force a few down just to be polite.
No, I don't. No, I never knew that Brussels sprouts could be good until I went to a dear friend of the show, Jeff Beavis' house.
Oh yes,
and he fried them with bacon, and they tasted great.
You can roast them there, quite
good.
But I like the very famous lady in all of the Newcastle Knights lineage, if
very
you will.
dear in our hearts, wasn't Mrs. Brown?
Mrs. Brown, Nathan Brown's, I was going to say former wife. It was a former coach, current wife, I believe.
Well, one would assume so. He's a good man, believes in the institution of marriage.
Yes, and we're not debating that.
I don't want to cast aspersions on him as an adulterer or anything like that.
No.
That was the coach before him.
Of course, Big Wayne with Little Wayne, the two of them, they work together.
Known adulterer
from Mr. Brown. Now they used to attract players by inviting
referees, loves other women.
They used to attract players, Liam, by inviting them into. This is where recruitment was back in 2016.
Well, that's it. For those that don't listen to the show, how did the butter chicken play into Nathan Brown's master plan for the rebuild of the club?
Well, someone like Tim Glasby or Trent Hodkinson or the likes of
known superstars
of the game, Rory Cost-Jason possibly, and then they're like, we have to get them to the club, but the recruitment's really poor. Why don't we invite them just to Nathan Brown's house, and Mrs. Brown would serve them butter chicken.
And Isaac Moses is spooning out the rice.
That's right. He's there with a gun under the table. We're all happy here, right?
I put a ghost pepper in one bowl of buttered chicken. I'm not telling you which one.
They call that the Newcastle roulette. Now it was it's a reverse, Mrs. Brown now, because some of the players have been tapped on the shoulder and said, it's time for you to go.
They've given them the tikka masala on the way out the door.
That's what they call it, little tikka. And it was, and the biggest one, physically as well as the most well-known one, is Dan Tafiti.
And look, it was the hardest tap on the shoulder to have, both for sentimental reasons and for working out which shoulder it was. Because, of course, between the Tafitis, there's four shoulders. You got to work, and they look the same. They're the same shoulders.
Yep.
So you need to work out which one's the one you're going to tap. So
It's very sad to see that the Daniel Savidi is going to be leaving the club, of course, leaving his twin brother, Jacob Savidi, at the club. Finally, we're going to see, instead of the parent trap, of course, it's the Savidi trap, in which case we have Daniel moving to England with his well-to-do mother, and Jacob under the tutelage of Dennis Quaid. and of course, we're going to have, it's going to be hard to see these two players split, but it's not the only casualty of this sort of salary cap squeeze, Liam. Another high-paid, underplayed player was a bit of a favourite of ours, Jaden Brayley.
He's a dear fan of the show, very good friend of the show.
Looks like a Marine.
He looks like a Marine, but he has the bones of a Waterford crystal glass.
Yeah.
They're
Shatters.
Expensive bones, but they shatter easily.
shatter.
Oh my goodness! But I think it's the tale of Jaden Brayley at the Knights is such a sad one.
Yeah.
17 ACL injuries. I think
Yeah.
he tore all of his groins
All
at
the groins.
different points in his Knights career, and has been unable to stay on the field for an extended period of time.
I think it was one season. I think he went right through, and then other than that, it was just been a real struggle.
Yeah, and for a man who was, when he was brought to the club, he was given immediately the club captaincy.
Yeah, it was straight away.
He was built up to us as this great leader, which I think he has proven to be, even in an off-field injury-ridden capacity.
But is that off-field role worth over $500,000 a season? I don't know.
I don't think so.
Apparently they made the decision. No, it's not.
Yeah.
There's not the only person, of course, to a lesser extent, someone that's only been at the club for a very short time, the Red Mist, Jack Hetherington. He seemed like he's only just arrived here. Not the kind of player that I thought we were going to get out of Jack. I thought we were going to see this sort of wildly forward that's going to, you let on at half time and he sort of goes ballistic.
Well, that's the thing. I think
he's sort of being very contained.
He plays within himself.
But then it does slaps and things. He doesn't mind getting sin binned.
Yeah, he loves it.
Yeah, loves it.
It's his biggest concern. Well, that's it. Are we paying him $500,000 a year to sit in the bin?
In the wheelie bin.
In the wheelie bin on the side of the field.
And he's going to do more than 2 peeps.
He's going to do 3 peaks.
Yeah.
But I think we got to discuss, we can't discuss that without discussing the options that we have to replace him, because as 3 go out, 3 must come in, obviously. We've got another twin.
Well, of course, we have to get another twin.
We have to get another twin in the front row. The Knights without twins in the front row, I was going to say are bad, but we were bad for so long. We
cannot exist.
We can't exist.
No,
And so we've got Leo Thompson's brother coming in, Theo Thompson. I think his name.
It looks like Leo's got a moustache.
Yeah. Like in Tintin, the Thompson and Thompson, they've got different moustaches.
Yes, exactly right.
Almost imperceptible, the difference in the moustaches.
Yeah.
Then, of course, I think to fill Jaden Brayley's role, you have the Renaissance man, Phoenix Crossland. But who do we have to fill the Red Mist? Maybe it's Thomas Kant, but I hope he can.
He's certainly been around that area. He's been captaining the reserve grade side. He seems like someone that they're going to elevate up. But if you look at the Red Mist stats recently, it doesn't really scream out a big impact forward. I think even if Brodie Jones at the moment is getting more minutes than the Red Mist and seems to be just as versatile.
He's been fantastic recently, Brodie. He's
really
got a different shape this year.
Square.
He seems to be leaner, but also top heavier.
Well,
he's like one of those, where you punch the thing and it goes down and
back up.
The weeble wobbles.
Of course, head and shoulders, knees and toes. Brodie
The
Jones, the druff.
Yeah.
We're glad that he's still sticking around and possibly not on that big salary cap squeeze. I'm not sure he's on that sort of big money.
No.
But it's good, honest Cessnock money.
That's it. He's the head and shoulders that you buy at the reject shop that's been imported from Thailand.
Yeah.
You don't want to be buying it at Woolies paying full freight.
It's called hips and feet. Yeah. Treats a completely different skin condition. Liam, it was since we last had a chance to discuss, there's been a huge game played.
Feels like it was an eternity ago, but it was merely 1 week from today. We are 1 week on from one of the greatest rugby league football performances I've ever seen in my life. I'm sure it's the same as you.
Potentially, yeah.
Unbelievable. In front of 90,000 people. Naggy, 90,000.
Down there in Melbourne.
Yeah.
Which is interesting to see because they don't really rock up to Storm games like that.
No.
They don't count with their feet and count with their feet, move with their feet, show with their feet. They don't do anything with their feet down there. They
just rub head and shoulders into it.
They do all. They're constantly sitting. But it was a remarkable first half by the Blues, and it's being ad nauseum discussed how we've basically allowed Queensland to bend over slightly and give them a good smack.
Well, the Blues woke up in the morning and they said, we are going to bring violence into the world. We are going to bring sheer violence and hatred and chaos. They brought body bags in with them in the kit bag. They just decided, let's not play football. Let's just commit
acts of
sheer
violence,
bloody-minded murder on the field.
They had a bloodlust.
Oh, it was amazing. I adored it. I love bloodlust when it comes to football.
34
in the confines of the football field, of course.
34-0 at half-time, which I always thought was a good opportunity for Queensland to possibly come back because, if anything, it proved that you can score 34 points in a half.
Now, Naggy, I've been saying this for a long, long while, and I think you've been saying this for a long, long while.
Essentially.
Is it finally becoming apparent to the rest of the world, not just the rugby league world, but the world in general, that Queensland spirit is a myth?
Yeah, I think so.
Queensland spirit is a myth. They've never been humble in victory either, so fuck them.
Yeah.
I'm glad they've lost.
I think,
because they've never won a series and gone, oh, well done. It was a good series.
Now, if you remember back in 2018, Brad Fittler took over the New South Wales coaching role, and we were a string of losses. Got 1-14, then we lost 15-16, 17. We should have won that series. Brad Fittler comes there, and he was all about shoes off and on the grass and put the phones in a box, and social media is poison. And then the media was just golf clapping everything, going, "Oh, this is wonderful. He's changing the game. He's doing all these incredible
bong
things."
rat.
And then 18, 19, we win another one, and they say this is magic. Then we lose 20. The series that the worst Queensland side, supposedly.
Cameron Munster played the whole series with a hangover, the worst I've ever seen.
Yeah, but they did have Corey Allen and things like that who never really made first.
And the Lee twins on one edge, of course.
Both Lees. They turned quickly on Freddie, and they said, "Oh, that's nonsense, Freddie. Freddie's lost his marbles."
But that was the thing. They said he never had the marbles to begin with.
Well, now they've welcomed...
We're all playing marbles, and he's playing chess.
We're seeing the first two series win from a brand new Queensland coach, the bush poet himself, Billy Slater, and then suddenly there's a bit of a question mark. Is Billy talking shit? I think,
yes.
But quite possibly he's talking absolute garbage. And all this sort of feeling of you got to be prepared. He had the press conference where he kept saying over and over, well, we are Queenslanders, like he was a glitch.
What's it? We're well aware of that. We know that, Billy. You guys say it every year, and yet you keep saying it. Just give up.
Queensland. I don't know what that means, Billy. Yeah. Talk English, man. So it's going to be interesting to see Game 3. Of course, there's we've done this 5 times, Liam, in the past 20 years, where we said, oh, as a decider in Queensland, we feel confident we can win it, and then we lose.
Never do.
And we never do. But hoodoos are there to be broken.
But Madge is a different man. He's quite the opposite of Fittler. He's intense.
Yeah.
He brings excitement. He brings vigor.
He does bring vigor.
He strikes fear into his players, who then strike the fear into the opposition.
It's going to be interesting to see if we can actually win Game 3. Then it'll be a great... Because, of course, it might be a 2-1 series New South Wales. Fingers crossed. But it will also say that Queensland can't beat us if we've got 13 men on the field at any given time.
Now that was Michael Maguire's real masterstroke. In the first game, he said, look, let's have 7 minutes with 13.
Yeah.
But let's do the following 73 with 12.
With 12.
But the masterstroke for this game, he said, let's do 80 minutes with 13 players on the field.
Okay. Well,
Genius.
You didn't see that coming.
You could not make up such a wonderful, coaching. It was revolution.
It was foxing, basically. It's like if you're feigning a bad leg, and then you go, "Hang on a second, my leg's actually fine."
And then you kick them in the head with it.
Like you're playing dance. You say, "Hang on," I'm not a lefty, and then you swap to your right hand, your good hand. He's done the old switcheroo.
What a switcheroo to pull.
It's going to be interesting to see Queensland, whether they're going to stand up there. Hopefully, Ashley Klein, who is indeed a fuckwit.
Now because I think we should go back to the discussion of the refereeing. Now, I know it may seem salty to discuss poor refereeing in a 38-18 win. Ashley Klein was disgusting in that game. He was absolutely woeful. And I say this it should have been to the detriment of New South Wales. Liam Martin should have been put in the sin bin for that dangerous tackle. Wasn't put on report. I'm glad that he didn't, because, again, I advocate violence in all its forms in the confines of a rugby league field. But then was sent off, of course, for the head rub. Klein seemingly lost control of the game. There was forward passes that got missed. It was an inexplicably... Well, I want to say, sorry, it's not an inexplicably bad performance, because he's a demonstrably bad ref. So it was a very understandable performance. But he keeps getting the big games, Naggy.
He got over
He's gargling the right balls, to get the whistle at the top moments.
Yeah, well, he has to find the whistle in amongst the scrotum. That's his trophy. There is at the beginning of the game, there was a lot of penalties to New South Wales, and then the second half, he was like, "Guess what, New South Wales? You're not getting any penalties. I'm going to give 9 in a row to Queensland."
The old square ups.
Yeah, but it was like square ups, and then went beyond, and then he was sin binning people. It was a terrible, terrible performance. Hopefully, we get Adam G, I believe.
Adam G's a wonderful referee.
I think he'd be much better,
because he expresses disappointment.
Yeah,
he has, but not that. Oh, I'm disappointed. He's like, I am disappointed. He has a teacher's authority about
like an
it.
assistant principal.
Yeah, with
Comes-
Ashley Klein, he's just kind of, what
Ashley-
happened? Oh, no. Oh, God.
He's like the guy that
so wishy-washy.
He's the casual teacher that comes in and they loses control of the classroom, and then you need Adam G to come in, just the sheer presence and the hands on hips, and says, and the shake of the head. Everyone goes, everyone shut up. Everyone shush, shush. There's a real person here now, and that's what we need up there in Queensland. A real man.
He's that teacher who silences the room when he walks in without even a word.
With a glare.
With a glare. We need Adam G's glare. That's what the world needs.
I'm looking forward to watching Game 3.
Send Adam G over to, police the debates in the American presidential race.
I thought you were going to say Gaza.
I don't think we're ready to touch on that one. Sorry, Naggy.
No.
It's a bit spicy.
We can't do any harm. We will be right back to talk everything Newcastle Knights against Parramatta Eels Slam.
And the Gaza Strip.
If we're still on the air.
Somebody there?
Somebody.
Who said that? I'm right here. I don't understand.
Did you think it was coincidence? So many good things all happening for you. All for you.
Welcome back to the second half of the Joust. Liam, it was very hard for me to watch that Knights-Eels game, not because it was such a topsy-turvy trading...
Seesawing affair.
But it was only a week ago that I was cheering Mitchell Moses on with such vigour. And then all of a sudden...
It was only 3 days before the game.
Yeah, and then I was watching the game and I was like, Mitchell Moses, stop, hold the horses.
You were trying to tell him to stop doing the things that you were cheering him to do mere days before.
The very same man. And so I wasn't exactly torn because I was just already made the decision that I hate him. I hate him already, and then I'll love him again in 2 weeks' time. But it was a game that, I tell you what, we've had a lot of close wins this season. And
well, they've been all close wins, really. All the
wins.
wins that we've had have been close wins, except the Dragons in the Marathon Monsoon.
That's exactly right. And it felt like, I tell you what, I was watching this, I was unwell, Liam. I was unwell last week, so I couldn't be at the Wickham Park Hotel where I would love to watch the game. Because the stadium's got too many people, but the Wickham Park's got just the right amount of people.
Perfect amount of people. And it's far more convenient.
Yeah, I think so too. And so I was watching at home, and I went from on the couch, and then I go to more like a stoop, like in front of the TV, like almost like I'm perched on something. And
it's funny when we watch together and our wives see the various things that we do during the game. Yes. I kind of sit towards the front right edge of my chair, leaning off to the side,
trying to get away from it.
Squats in front of the television.
And then
I walk around pacing with my hands behind my back.
Yeah, and then
like a caged lion.
And then I collapsed on the floor when Junior Paulo scored the try. I said, "Oh, it's happening again!" And it wasn't anything like medically that's happened to me, which is always a possibility. But it was something that was right in front of me. I said, "Oh, this is terrible." But Liam, it was a game that it robbed so many minutes of the back end of my life, possibly years. But at the same time, it gave me such joy. It was the real gamble. It was like if you had a large amount of money, you watch these videos and people got a large amount of money on like a craps table or something, and then the dice rolls. It's like,
and then it goes into slow motion.
And the dice is in the air and it's just going boom, boom, and it's tumbling,
boom.
and it's like the elation, and that's the feeling that I got. I suppose it's what all sports about, really. It's an exercise in failure.
Now I didn't watch the game live. I wasn't unwell. I just was at work, and usually if I'm at work, I will avoid watching the score. If anyone walks in, I yell at them, "Don't tell me the score." But I thought, "Oh, to hell with it. I can't be bothered."
Great customer service. They walk in and say, "Shut up!" Not a
Turn
word.
around. No one's welcome in the shop for the next 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
But through so you guys said at the end of the game, you didn't, spoil it, but for to say the Knights won, and you will enjoy it on rewatch.
Yeah.
Now, the wife and I are doing Dry July, except Origin.
Yeah.
We're getting pissed on Origin. And so before Dry July on the 30th of June, I thought, I'm going to get a pizza, and I'm going to get a bunch of beer, and I'm going to watch the footy. And it was one of the most exciting games I've watched in a long, long time. For a team that was coming last against a team that was 12th
something
at kickoff around there.
Yeah.
It had finals intensity
It did,
to it.
yeah.
It had that finals footy feel.
So many points on the scoreboard, and so many that were disallowed as well
Yeah.
on both sides. Now, I thought at the time we saw the first try to Blaze Talangi, and I thought that was going to be. And I think
What a great name.
Great name,
Blaze.
Blaze.
Yeah.
It was a baby, and they're like, we'll call him Blaze.
Imagine if you name your kid Blaze and he becomes like an accountant or
Yeah, I
something.
know. Yeah.
Tax time, I got to give Blaze a call.
H&R
H&R Blaze.
And so it was like I saw the team that Parramatta had, and I was like, finally at this point in the season, they're getting all these players back.
The bits and bobs are where the bits and bobs need to be.
Gartho, Moses, and Brown up against Jackson Hastings, Fletcher Sharp, and Will Price making his debut. Fletcher Sharp's only his third first-grade game.
Will
And I
Price
thought-
is only his first grade
Exactly.
game.
I thought, this is going to be a very, very tough game to win. And Blaze Talangi went over, and I thought, this is going to be the fast man outside of Greg the Bus. He's not quick at jumping or moving. And I thought this is where they're going to score all their tries.
Which will I was going to duck back to it in the hats off rather, but in the first 10 minutes, seeing the way they kind of toyed with Greg, I thought that he was going to leak 40 points on his wing.
I did too.
The chip over the top where he had the turning circle of a large barge.
Yes.
Fletcher Sharp knocked it out for a dropout.
He's still turning
which the
up,
Knights
yeah.
went for another goddamn short dropout
Every time.
Except they didn't kick it high,
No.
and so it just went to whoever was standing on the about 15 meters out. It was terrible.
Yeah.
And then there was the try they scored, burning him on the outside with pace.
Pace, yeah.
And I thought, we're in for a
good.
classic Greg game here. But we got a different kind of classic Greg game. But we'll come back to that in the hats off.
But he's managed to the team with the Daniel Saifidi offload, which is great to see Daniel Saifidi doing this, and we hope that he continues doing it for the remainder of the season. But he's setting sail off there to England with his well-to-do mother. And it was who's going to be there? Will Price. The Price is right. And he sprinted through and he did a nice little
A dance of some sort.
It was a show, but it was like a shush, everyone.
Yeah.
Shush. There's more to
Calm
come.
it down.
Now,
Calm it down.
What did you think of Will Price's debut?
Now, in terms of attack, I thought he was good. I thought he had a bit of fun out there. You could see his dad, Leon Price, was in the crowd. For those that don't know, his dad, Leon Price, is one of the greatest English rugby league players of all time. He's a great British and Irish lion.
Did you see he was
Great
sitting
Brit.
next to him? Scotty-
Stephen Menzies.
And Scotty Duro.
Scotty Duro.
Scotty Duro, former Knight, was up there as well, who's been very ill over the last last 10 years, but it seems like he looked healthy and good. And it was good to see.
Scotty Duro.
Yeah.
There you go.
It was,
But I thought, Price. Now, there is one little number down there in the right-hand column, 5 missed tackles. That was kind of the talk about why he's not ready for first grade yet. He was putting up really good attacking numbers in reserve grade, but his defense was a bit suspect. But I think when you've got him defending when you've got him defending outside the second rowers that the Knights have, your Kai Pearce, Palsy, Tyson Frizzell. Whose side was he on?
I think Adam Elliott
On the
was with him
right
as well.
Adam Elliott in the middle
in the
there,
middle,
tightening
yeah.
things up. But I think that's one weakness in his game that is well covered
Yeah.
by the first grade players who are playing inside of him.
And I think the trade-off that you need to have if someone isn't like a great defensive 5'8", but can add something, a bit of jazz, if you will,
I'd love a bit of jazz.
Yeah. And if that's what we need, because really you have a 5'8", you get opportunities possibly about 5 times a game where they just need to pull the trigger, and that might be go themselves, throw the cutout, or just simply like go through the hands and make that right decision. When you got someone like Jackson Hastings who loves his hands in the ball, can't get enough of it, and when you got someone like that as a halfback, as a 5'8", you really only need to do a couple of things.
And I think as a trigger puller, only doing a couple of different things,
Yeah.
I think he's going to do well.
Next
week, I yearn to see more of him.
Well, next week he's got Kalen Ponga outside of him as well.
Just give Kalen the ball.
I think what we definitely need in this team to score points is genuine pace and excitement, and
Which Will Price brings, because
I
with
think so.
the Cogger Hastings halves pairing, it was a bit slow.
Two square slow boys, yeah. And even against Penrith when we were making Bradman Beast made a big break, and then it got to Jack Cogger, who I do think is a very capable halfback.
Oh, he's a fine rugby league player.
But he's just not a good 5'8" in 2024. It's very hard to go past as far as exceptional
He
players.
wasn't really a good 5'8" in 2021 or 2020 or 2022 or any of the other years that he's played rugby league.
Jack Cogger of the School of Unremarkable Boys, of course. when we look at genuine pace as well, and the pace and excitement, it's very hard. And I think this player gets our hats off for this week,
does.
Liam, is Bradman Beast.
Is this the greatest game of rugby league that one man has ever played? And you want to talk about speed just before I get into the numbers. His last try is the slowest 90-metre try I've ever seen in his life.
Crampy, exhausted man.
The only man chasing was Regan Campbell-Gillard, known Matt Shervington clone.
No, of course. And poor Bradman just recently run the field, sprinted the field.
Minutes before.
Yeah, and
he
then
scored a mirror image of it.
And then he had to do it again, but in slow motion.
Well, it's a long way to run. He ran for 357 metres in this game.
lot.
That's a long way. I can understand why he was tired. I get tired in the 20 metres to my fridge.
Great games, and you sprint there.
That's what I do. I'm thirsty.
Great games against the Tigers, a great game against Penrith, and he's backed it up here, a great game against Parramatta, which was really the difference. 2 try assists, 2 tries, 357 metres, 8 tackle breaks. You can't beat it, Liam.
2 line break assists. I think the Bradman Gregg edge is just such a good edge to watch. They're stout men.
Stout men.
They're built like barrels. They just bowl people over or go through them.
And the same way that Bradman in attack, adds that extra flair of genuine pace and especially over 40 metres, can really put distance on people. In defence, he does allow them to get outside of him and then chase them down and do, and that won't always work. But to have that in your back pocket to say, I can run faster than you, I'm a little bit stouter than you, and it's just incredible. And I think that's what you need. I think Greg's going to play his best games, and Greg, I tell you what, I think also gets my hats off for this week, because he could have very easily gone into his shell. The ball was rocketed into his face
by Phoenix. He hammered him right in the chin, right in
the pecker. It could have been a game that he's gone into himself, but the 2 tries in the second half, and could have been a third if it wasn't disallowed, he was running with vigour. He was running with absolute vigour. And I think
the thing, and it's quite apt that we've given these 2 men the hats off this week, and one of the amazing things to watch, and we've seen this in Bradman's game for a number of years, and I don't think it gets talked about often, his catch and pass is amongst the best I've ever seen. The way he gets the ball, and with a mere flick of the wrist, he moves it on. And I'll tell you the game where we realised how important a weapon of his that was the tie against Penrith.
Yes.
Those years ago, where I think there was a minute to go.
2020 round 3.
31st
of May.
Yes, 31st of May, the day before my own birthday.
Yeah, it was the day of Cassie's
He had
birthday,
the catch and pass to Edric Lee.
It was after the 6-week break of COVID.
I think it was the catch and pass to Edric Lee that either went forward or Edric missed because it went behind him.
Yep.
And then you could tell that he spent hours and hours and hours working on that.
Yep.
Because ever since, he has been using that as an unbelievably effective attacking weapon.
And not only is Bradman Beast seemed to be getting better and seemed to be, because he debuted at 18, we forget how young he is.
He's just a boy.
He's just about to turn 23, I think, and he's 1 year older than Reece Walsh, and Reece Walsh gets this sort of he's a young boy and he can do anything in the game. Bradman's a few steps ahead of him as far as age.
And I think after Bradman's performance in Origin 3 last year, after the season he's having, I think it is without debate that he is the 3rd drop centre for New South Wales. If Latrell goes down, if the other guy goes down, Stephen Crichton, it's Bradman Beast. There was talks, is it going to be Bradman? Is it going to be Jesse Ramian? Is it going to be Tommy Turbo back into the centres? Is it going to be this? Is it going to be that? Is it going to be here? Are we going to be there? It's Bradman.
It's Bradman.
The answer to the question is who got 99.94 as a career average? It's Bradman.
BB. The B squared.
The best.
The thumb. When we take our hats off to a player, of course, we have to return our hats to our heads.
Which we hate to do.
Which we don't really like to do. This hurts us to do.
Yeah.
And it was
especially to this particular man
who's got a couple of hats off this year. We'll have to look at the end of the season who gets the year-long 2024 hats off, and the one that is still currently wearing them. But Dane Gagai, Liam, is
just favourite Dane Gagai.
Missing 7 tackles for the game, 2 of which
that's a big number.
Just showed up by Mitchell Moses, and you know that he would hate Mitchell Moses for what he did to Queensland in a game that he was 18th man watching.
And just in general, Mitchell Moses is a very hateable guy.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah. Whinging. Him and Gutho to spend the whole time in their
arms.
What's this? What are we doing? So he got burned by him twice, probably showing the 33-year-old man that he is just not quite doesn't have that sort of nimble attack as he once did. nimble defense, I should say, of that pick and pick and stick or turn and chase, and he was shown up by the fastest halfback in the NRL in Mitchell Moses. But
Which I think we do need to appreciate. He's very, very fast.
Mitchell Moses,
but it was very telegraphed. He did it once. They knew he was going to do it again, and he still did it again. It worked again.
And he not only like showed that he was going to do it again, but he chose a guy that he knew that he could get outside of him. So it wasn't just like a chance beating. He was like, oh, we're just going to carbon copy the first try, and guess what we've done to you again. So for that reason, I'm sorry, Dame, the hat comes back on. You've done some wonderful things in the game.
Man. We didn't want to do it.
No, we have to do it. We're actually legally
Everyone
obligated.
gets the hat returned to their head at some point in their career.
Yes.
Gags had to have it eventually.
Yeah, well, it's the Cap Act of 2015. We have to return it to the head because we can't just leave it off. Now, there's also a bit of an injury of someone who's always been there. He hasn't missed many games in the last few years, and that's Phoenix Crossland.
And we got the full Phoenix experience. We had him rocketing the ball into Greg Margeau's face, as we discussed earlier. I think he gave away 2 penalties that proved not to be crucial, which is nice.
Yes.
But also he did, what he does in defence, where he just rushes out of the line, and it doesn't matter who it is, he hurls himself at them. He leaves the ground.
Put a great shot on Marky Sevo.
Which is a hard man to put a great shot on. That's one of the hardest men in the league to put a great shot on. Guess who did it? Phoenix Crossland. 3 years ago, every person on the face of the earth was telling us that Phoenix Crossland is the worst player in the NRL.
Yeah.
And now we're giving away our very highly paid club captain because we know we have Phoenix in the back pocket.
Ready to start. And
he's moving to the front pocket.
And he has been, that's right. He's gone from pocket to pocket. And he's been starting, but he's
because he's the size of a pocket.
He's pocket size. It's unheralded about his defense, how strong his defense is. He rushes up on props on these like huge wingers, puts shots on,
and he doesn't miss these huge shots either.
He
zeroes in
and
like a tomahawk missile.
It's just like like Danny Badiris used to do it. Danny Badiris used to actually like rush up and put shots on like the Petros and the Webkeys and all these big forwards. Phoenix has that in them, and no one expected this of him years ago. But anyway, he did, speaking of the Marcus Sevo hit, concuss himself.
Which is the most noble thing you can do for your club. You say, I'm wearing the red and blue, I'm going to do everything I can to stop this enormous man, including using my head to hit him.
Concuss and put his body on the line. That's what we wanted to see. And so he's going to miss it with the 11-day stand down. He's going to miss the Canberra game. And speaking of the Canberra game, we must look forwards, not backwards. Backwards, not forwards.
Twirling, always twirling. 4:05 p.m, Sunday, 7 July. What a great time of year this is watching rugby league because there's bugger all else to do because it's freezing and it's been raining for a year straight.
Yeah.
Let's watch some rugby league.
If you're going to watch it anywhere, Liam, you're watching it at the
Wickham Park Hotel. Right next.
No. Oh, no. Look what he's done. The Wickham Park Hotel, of course, at 4 p.m. It is a game in Canberra.
Yep.
I travelled to Canberra recently, Liam.
Why?
Something
Are you a politician?
No.
Oh, good.
Not yet. There is. I tell you what, it was cold, and it looked like the whole town was built in 1996.
And you can't buy fireworks or porn there, so what's the point?
Fish Week. Yeah, you got a Fish Week.
Yeah, but no, you can't anymore. There's no fireworks. What's the point?
Oh, right.
Yeah.
But also, pornography is pretty easily accessible.
Yeah, who's still paying for these pornography subscriptions?
Big warehouses of paper pornography. So if we look at where the Raiders are they're sitting there at 12th. We're sitting at 11th. Only 4 and against keeping us apart.
But I would say we're a rising 11th, whereas they are a sinking 12th.
You think? Yeah. Well, they certainly didn't have a great game against the Melbourne Storm.
They had a very bad game against the Melbourne Storm. They always do that.
Down there in the freezing cold. By 4 o'clock, Liam, it's about -7. Like
the sun's been gone for hours.
Oh, they barely see any sun at all.
15 minutes of sunshine through the day.
Now, of course, when we look at the Canberra Raiders team, we've got the Ghost of Christmas Past. I think probably the most Ghost of Christmas Past.
Easily.
I think of any other team. Joseph Tarpany, Tom Starling, Simi Sasagi's even gone over there.
Hudson Young's from the area.
There might be someone else from that sort of region. Zach Wolford, who's in the extended reserve.
Yes.
So we're going to hopefully not be tormented by the ghosts that once served for the great club of Newcastle.
And usually we love to see an unchanged lineup, but this week we don't want an unchanged lineup
because
Kalen Ponga's
back at fullback. Now, Liam,
what an erotic sentence that is.
It was
the young woman's erotic journey from Milan to Marathon Stadium.
There was Kalen Pong is back, but if we look down at the number 14, Fletcher Sharp has not lost his a spot in the side, but he's in there at 14. Where do you see them using him?
Well, you mentioned before the show, I'm going to flip the question on you because you said that you have a theory about how they're going to use him.
Well,
and I want to know that theorem.
It just smells a little bit like 2023 start of, and then a little bit like 2019 where the Fletcher Sharp goes back to fullback and Kalen Pong goes into 6.
So the reverse Lockyer.
The reverse Lockyer.
Oh, okay. So it's like it's it's one of those things where they won't expect it.
They won't expect it.
They won't expect us to do the exact same thing we've done 3 times before.
And
the fourth time,
yeah,
they don't see it coming.
But it's going to be very, very, I would say, interesting to see Kalen Pong at 6. He basically plays that 6 role from fullback.
Yeah.
I just don't know where they bring on Fletcher Sharp as in the middle.
Well, the comparison that I have thought of, and I was waiting to keep it organic during the shows.
Please.
We remember, of course. Now, Fletcher Sharp is Ryan Pappenhausen. 7 years ago. He's
Wish,
the same person. He has the same hair.
Yep.
He's not from Wish because he's a fantastic
very
quality.
good. He's very good,
from
yeah.
Amazon Prime.
Amazon Prime.
So we see that he's basically who Ryan Pappenhausen was 7 years ago.
Yep.
And what Melbourne Storm effectively did when they had Pappenhausen coming into the grade was they said go into the middle and just be.
Just be there.
Just be on the field
Yep.
in the middle. You're not playing lock. You're not playing hooker. You're just on the field.
Sniff.
Doing rugby league.
Sniff around
And so
there.
I think they do that. I say just throw him on because, with the forwards that we have, was Leo Thompson back?
He is.
So
Liam
you
Thompson
got
is
Leo
back,
Thompson back,
Yeah.
Daniel Safidi, Jacob Safidi, Kai Pierce-Paul, Tyson Frizzell. That is a big, powerful forward pack. You can
Dylan
afford
Lucas
to-
on the bench as
Dylan
well.
Lucas on the bench.
Yeah.
You can drop Adam Elliott from lock, say, 30 minutes in perhaps,
Yep.
and just say to Fletcher Sharp, go out there and just be a rugby league player.
Run.
A positionless rugby league player.
Yeah,
Run, support, throw your body in front of people if you must, but
Yes.
don't tackle. Just be.
Just be there.
And I think maybe we should see that. I think it'll be great. Or do we take Kalen Ponga off for a rest? He's been out for a while.
He gets tired. He
He
gets tired.
It's a tiring sport.
He's foot-sore,
His foot's
probably a
very
little
sore.
bit. Well, he's
Well,
still got the bandage of
we
course.
should
so
do the
Elizabeth
ceremonial
Frank-
unwrapping of the ankle.
of Elizabeth Frank.
Yeah.
I can't actually get it off. It's the adhesive leave. It's too good. Do you remember
This
when
bit really didn't work. We were going for a bit there, so just
Do you remember when you would have strapping tape? You would have been a very strapped man, I imagine.
I was a strapping young lad.
Strapping young lad. But
Yeah.
when you were playing football, and they would be like, "Oh, you got to strap your ankle,
Yeah.
strap your wrist, strap your knee," and then of course you had to remove it.
Yeah.
and it's like giving birth to a child.
Well, it was always funny as well. If you had to strap your ankle, you'd shave your ankle, but not the rest of the leg because that's gay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like,
Yeah.
shave my ankle for it. No, I'm
Yeah.
stopping at the top of the ankle.
Yeah, it was also like, I remember I was strapping my knee for a while, and then I was like, they're like, oh, it hurts to take off. And they said, why don't you shave your knee? And I was like, well, I look like a fool for the rest of the time. Like, and they'll be like, oh, well, you just shave your whole leg, have one leg shaved like a psychopath.
Yeah.
It's it was a terrible time. So I just end up every time coming back and just have to go breathe 1, 2, 3.
Like that Brazilian wax we were talking about I got earlier.
Exactly, yeah, like a turtle. But nothing helps it. Apparently, like tea tree oil or something breaks down the adhesive. Probably burns straight through the leg.
Useful tree. The
Yeah.
tea tree is proven to be.
Yeah.
Stinks to high hev.
Maybe it's eucalyptus. I don't know, something
Yeah.
like that.
Both great trees.
Ricky Stewart's going to
Good,
be
honest Australian trees. See, they keep bringing in these trees from other countries, and they don't fit in the ecosystems.
Yeah.
Stick with the eucalyptus. Stick with the tea tree. Good Australian
Honest,
trees.
yeah.
Honest, hard-working trees.
That's right.
They don't grow out. They grow up.
The koalas love them.
They love them.
They're onto something.
They're onto
Yeah.
They nap 18 hours a day. That sounds like a great life.
I would love that.
That'd be great. Yeah.
If we ever look at our past, we've got 7 wins, Liam. They're all quite tight. There's not a huge the St George game, the monsoon in Marathon, of course, was that. But otherwise, these are 4-point wins, 6-point wins.
But when you look at the table, they're still wins.
They are, and
they're still wins.
Speaking of some close losses, if we look at the 8 losses that we've had,
6 points, 1 point, 8 points, 2 points, 14 points. Don't like that one. 30 points, don't like that one. 8 points, 8 points.
We're
They're
in and
gentlemanly
around.
losses. They're
We are.
gentlemanly losses.
Now, if we look ahead, if we beat Canberra Raiders and we go into Manly, and
Very
I think
winnable.
if we can beat the kind of teams like Manly, Brisbane, and Raiders, they're the teams that are going to be competing for the 8.
They're in the log jam.
and
Because
that-
currently, if you look at the table, 5th is Canterbury Bulldogs. They're
Yeah.
on 20 points.
Yeah.
12th is the Canberra Raiders. They're on 18
18
points.
points.
So still between 5th and 12th. there is but a solitary win.
I think it's really going to be a tough 8 to get into. A lot of if you just win just enough. There's obviously been seasons of the Newcastle Knights have won 12, lost 12, and they made 7th.
Or a few years ago, the Cronulla Sharks won 12, lost 12, and had a points differential of 0 to end the season. It was the ultimate mediocre season. It was the definition of mediocre. It was right. It was just in the middle.
And then they asked a Sharks fan, "What do you think?" He goes, "Nah, no opinion. Actually, it's fine. It's totally fine."
And then if we go down the backstretch, of course, Tigers. Very winnable. Sharks, if we're in the top 8 by then, as you brought up,
they will lose.
Yeah. Bunnies, they've improved their fortunes a bit, and a resurging Latrell could make a difference.
Yes.
Titans and Dolphins, very winnable.
I think Dolphins at the end of the season run out of steam. Old pack, and obviously Wayne Bennett will have one foot out the door. He'll barely be watching the game. He'll probably be watching on his phone as he flies to South Sydney.
He can't use a phone.
No, of course not.
He still types SMS messages with one finger.
Yeah. He puts a space and then a comma, like the typewriters, and then
Slaps the side of his face.
he slaps it out the window of the
He
plane.
finishes every text message with "Sincerely, Wayne Bennett."
But so I don't think the Dolphins are going to put anything up at the end of the season, especially now also their
Jeremy
hooker,
Marshall King is injured again. Maybe Jaden Braley was a cautionary tale for Jeremy Marshall King.
Potentially, but there's certainly winnable games there. But if we can beat these 3 teams in Canberra, Manly, and the Broncos, we deserve to be there. It's not say, we're getting our points from an easy draw.
Yeah.
They're the ones that we're going to have to beat, and possibly they're the ones that we'll be facing in the finals.
And that's a common knock on a team. They're like, they only beat the teams around them. It's like, well, that's how you succeed, by beating the teams around you.
Exactly
But it's only the teams around you. But yes, that's who we were playing against. We can't beat the teams ahead of us if we're not playing against the teams ahead of us.
That's right.
What are we going to call up Manly and say, oh, no, hang on.
No,
you're kind of around the same spot. We'd rather play Penrith.
Yes.
Can we do a quick phone call, please?
Actually, we'll swap. It's going to be, whether we can... If we can get over those teams, Liam, I really think it's going to be coming into the bye. We'll be looking at the last 6 rounds and thinking we can do this.
And another one, they say, you only beat the teams below you. It's like, that's how you end up above them.
Above them, yeah. You have to beat them. Yeah.
It's ludicrous. Of course you beat the teams below you because you end up above them.
Origin's going to have a bit of a play there, of course. After the Manly round, there'll be people coming out of the team because of Origin, so Cherry Evans won't be there.
And unfortunately, the form of Kalen Ponga and Bradman Beast, they'll be called in.
Potentially. Yeah. And then coming back right after, 3 days after Origin, we'll play the Brisbane Broncos. So we'll be playing either some very sad sore boys and
who are
Carrigan.
Sliding down the ladder.
Pressure's
as
on.
well. The pressure's on.
So see if they can relive the kind of spirit that they provided for Origin. But I don't know if they can.
Speaking of spirits, where do you like to drink them?
I think I like to drink them at the Wickham Park.
The Wickham Park Hotel, ladies and gentlemen. The Wicker.
Yeah, it's a wonderful place.
It's a great pub.
And that's where we'll be watching.
Huge television.
That's where we'll be watching the Canberra Raiders game, of course, as well as Origin 3, the only place to watch because you can get $6 schooners of Tui's new Forex Gold, Tui's old $1 wings.
Joust burger
Joust
as
burger.
well.
All burgers $17. You can't beat those prices.
It's a wonderful venue, especially in this cost of living crisis, in this day and age, with the pains in society that Tony Abbott has foisted upon us.
Yeah, that's right.
Where else would you rather be?
Where else would you rather be at the Wickham Park Hotel? If you like us, Justice, please watch us on all of these platforms, and you can listen to us as well. Spotify, Instagram, Apple Tunes.
But don't watch us without listening. You won't be able to follow along.
No, you can do what you like. Facebook, YouTube, TikTok.
Come out of CCP.
Yeah, and then we don't do anything on Twitter though.
No,
X. Sorry, it's called X.
It'll always be Twitter to me.
It sounds like it's from Fishwick. Thank you, Liam, and we'll hopefully come back and be talking about another miraculous win against the Canberra Raiders. We'll see you soon.